Regina here. As you can see, we have a full house. Today's Are You Fucking Kidding Me discussion will be about Conor McGregor, Brock Lesnar, and Bones Jones. Gentlemen, let's get this work. So let's start with McGregor, who's had a meteoric rise in the UFC, but he's also had a rocky relationship with them, always thinking he's the main attraction. Rob, can you break it down for us?
So to prepare for this topic, I watched the notorious Conor McGregor documentary last night, and just to see where this kid's from, and I could say I give the documentary 3 out of 5 stars only because they didn't give much depth on the Mayweather McGregor fight, and it's it's a rags to riches inspirational. Watching the documentary, I now understand where all this swag that he carries with his chest sticking out comes from. And here's a kid who in 2007 made his debut against Chirion Campbell and won via TKO in the first round.
Who's that?
He's a fighter.
Exactly. I'm just saying.
He's a nobody, but he didn't see himself as a talented fighter, so he worked hard at his craft. He loved what he did. He became obsessed with mixed martial arts. And in the video, he gives us the formula for success: hard work, sacrifices, and obsession. Mm-hmm. And the results will show in his fight record. He would then go on to an 8-fight win streak. He proved the hype was real, but still many doubted, including myself. He would go on to fight Max Holloway, another guy that I had high hopes on, Dustin Poirier, take out Chad Mendes in the process. We all know about the fight with Nate Diaz, where he won the second fight in the rubber match, which we know he would go on to fight Nate Diaz and win the second fight in the rubber match, which is the fight that made me start believing in this guy. It was around the 4th round, after he just got his ass kicked on the 3rd round, where he looked like he had nothing left. He was down, and he comes out in the 4th round and he digs deep, and all the shit talking, all the confidence came out, and he ended up winning that fight in a decision. In November 2016, RDA was scheduled to fight in a lightweight title fight with Eddie Alvarez. RDA comes up, gets hurt right before the fight, and Conor takes the fight in short notice, got victorious in that second round TKO, becoming the first ever to hold 2 belts in the UFC. His fame was boosted into another planet, where the setup for the biggest money fight in fighting history was made between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, which would set him up with life-changing money. $100 million.
Fuck the Mayweather.
Fast forward to now, where he is now facing 2 felony charges for criminal mischief. Are you fucking kidding me?
So let's talk about that. What set him up?
Well, the fact that he had altercations or beef with somebody else in a different camp, for whatever reasons they could be. I mean, just because you don't like somebody on somebody else's camp, that's part of the business. You're all out here trying to eat off the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so for you to sit there, these guys were just where you were a year ago. The only thing that changed for you is that your mouthpiece was on that WWE level, to where you could sell yourself well enough to where it got you an opportunity and you ran your mouth enough to make you a check off of something that had nothing to do with you, and you got paid for it. So now you could sit back and act a fool for no reason. I mean, to get paid, this is going to generate him more popularity and growth in his brand, right, than it is going to be a negative. Does that necessarily mean to be true? No, it shouldn't be, because there's plenty of people that have been in the UFC, but because they haven't been able to market themselves the way he has, they can do the same thing, but they're not going to get the same results. They're going to get kicked out and never come back. So for him to have this opportunity, yeah, they're going to sit there and play it down, but for Dana to sit there and say, this is the worst thing to happen in UFC, dude, there's been plenty of things that you guys want to talk about that have happened in UFC with your fighters that is way worse than throwing a hand truck through the window. It's still an ugly scene and it's bad. It doesn't look good because you basically threw a tantrum because you didn't like what somebody said about your boy. If that's the case, let him handle it in the ring. That's what you guys do for a living.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it looks better for him in the long run. Yeah, it looks terrible in the beginning, like, oh my God, all these fighters, but he lives, it seems like after this Mayweather fight, he lives off of hills and valleys. The mountain that he hit was that, multi-million-dollar fight that made him ridiculous amounts of money. And then, who was he? So he had to do something to make him even better. So then he came out with the whole Notorious project, he did that. So taking that into effect, he was pretty much nothing. He rolled out the documentary. I'm not sure if that was agreed upon before or after his rise to stardom monetarily. And then he kind of went into hiding again, and then this came out, and literally he was not anything. I mean, he wasn't even supposed to be there. It didn't involve him, and somehow he got upset. I mean, anyone would be upset with losing, one of your belts, but in reality, when's the last time you actually fought for that belt? I feel that it's a win-win for Dana because in one aspect now you have all this controversy that's everybody's now you got everybody on you, you're in everybody's ear, you're on everybody's mouth. And then the other aspect of that, you've got everybody paying attention to Conor as well and every move that he's making in the fact that you messed up, but what happens from here? Right. And I feel that everything's just going to be swept under the rug regardless.
Right.
So.
Okay, so with me, when it comes to the whole situation that Conor McGregor decided to go basically crazy because of what happened with his friend and the opposite team, I believe was Habib.
Yeah.
With somebody in his team
Not gonna work here
that
anymore.
was talking trash about Conor McGregor's team, right? With everything that's going on right now, I think Dana White is going to capitalize on this based on the fact that it's created so much attention that people are going to look forward to either whether or not there's going to be a Conor McGregor fight or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And yes, he has been out of the limelight for a long time. I think that sucks. I think he's a great fighter in my opinion. He creates a lot of hype for the UFC, and personally, I think that who knows, maybe he actually got with Vince McMahon on how to promote more on UFC. That's my personal opinion. I don't know if whether that's true or not.
Versus
But
South tickets and views.
exactly. I mean, if you look at the WWE, there's always a storyline. Always a storyline. You create so much hype that when WrestleMania comes up or when Monday Night Raw comes up, you're looking forward to that situation. You're looking forward to that fight that's coming
Theatrics.
up. So, with what's going on with, for example, Brock Lesnar, I'm not going to touch into that yet, but I'm just saying he right now currently is in the WWE and he is probably going to go into the UFC, from what I heard. So, with what's going on with Conor McGregor and Dana White, hopefully Dana White can capitalize on that, and I hope that Conor McGregor comes back and ends up fighting again. That's my personal perspective. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense. But I also think, sorry to get in, but is this the point where McGregor turns into Mayweather and the money he generates because he's become such the villain that you want to watch to see him lose? Creating that aura in a sense to where Mayweather created that aura for himself that once he became went from Pretty Boy, but when he went from Pretty Boy to Money Mayweather, basically his marketing scheme went to the point of he's the villain. And so with the villain, sometimes you want to sit there and watch the villain lose. And because this is a villain that never loses, it kind of makes for the contrast, like you said, like WWE, to where if you really think about it, most of their setups and their fights, the villain always comes out victorious, usually up until the main event.
But even the main event, they come out victorious. I mean, look at Undertaker. I mean,
But sometimes sometimes it can still fall on his head, but usually the villain doesn't necessarily, they win most of the battles. Right. But they don't necessarily win that war. They won't win the big one, so to speak, that leads. But they'll smack you around all the way leading up to it. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if he's marketing himself in such a way to where regardless of what he does, is he going to lose off of that?
So, Yonda?
I don't think he's gonna lose at all. He is the biggest promoter right now in the UFC, and what he did, even though he wasn't on the
biggest
fight,
promoter in fighting right
even
now.
though he was I think Mayweather was still bigger. And if Mayweather was to come back,
Hold on.
Dude,
if Mayweather was to come back, he would still be bigger. Staying on Conor. Conor is what he did for the UFC. He brought more light to this fight than the actual fighters themselves. No one was really talking that much about this fight, and now he's put eyes on it, and he's not even involved in the fight. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He wasn't even a part of that fight. So for me, I think it makes him look like the bad guy, but it will help him going forward because how many people tuned into the Mayweather fights just to see Mayweather lose and for him to prove you wrong every time he just took your money. That's the level that Conor is playing on. I think he learned a lot from that Mayweather fight. And even before this happened and they stripped his title, even after because he made so much money off that Mayweather fight. He made more than he would have ever made in the UFC. Mm-hmm. He was saying for him to come back and fight, they would have to pay him more. So this is all an extension of all that.
Oh yeah, controversy sells.
Yes, yes, 100%.
You know,
and so you think about it. You brought up Brock.
Yeah.
Which is another reason I think Brock is coming back, because with Bones Jones being out of the arena right now, to me Bones Jones was probably is my favorite UFC fighter, but with all the troubles he's going through, they need this attention does nothing but help them. It is nothing but a boon for the UFC.
Agreed.
You know, because now people look, we're talking about it. Mm-hmm. That's all eyes on the fight. That really, Ronda's not there anymore. There's
I didn't
no
even
big
know there was
name.
a fight yet. Was going to be a fight tonight.
So exactly,
I'm not even lying. Right
so
now.
what he has done is turn all eyes to this. People are talking about this fight, and so I think it's going to make him more money in the long run. Should Dana suspend him? Will he be suspended? Probably. Will he be kicked out? Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
Why would you kick out the money train?
Yeah.
Right.
But in
Why would you
almost
kick out
any
the money
other
train?
business aspect, would you have a detriment to your brand? I mean, so as a
No, but
As a-
I'm sorry to
but
cut you off, but to go back to what you were saying about WWE, that is what this is. That's like a type of marketing. Any other business, it would be a
I
detriment.
thought he was trying to be more legit. Like, do you want to be into the entertainment business, or are you trying to be into the athletic entertainment business, to where, by
what this is
definition, the outcome is supposed to be done by those who are in the event. Has things been fixed regardless of the sport? Every sport's been fixed at one point or another for whatever reason. But I mean, in the essence of boxing, basketball, football, baseball, any of the major sports, even UFC, trying to be going from the tough man type competition mentality and really no rules to making it more of an organized business model. So if you have an organized business model, will you jeopardize that to sit there and have the antics? So if Odell Beckham goes and throws something and causes injury to other players at another team, if you know what I mean, if one of these other athletes in a different form does that and it jeopardizes other people being able to produce in your league, are you going to be able to keep them in your league and monetarily grow like that?
But here's the funny thing about that. Sorry, Dave, and I'll give it right to you. It's going to be really quick. Only the NFL recognized that those antics, people want to see those antics because they reintroduced the end zone celebrations when it was illegal for not illegal, but it was illegal as far as the NFL was concerned.
Yeah.
You're penalized. And they finally opened the door to say, hey, people want to see this. The WWE has made a living off of these antics. It may be scripted, but people tune in for the drama.
Right.
And other sports and avenues are taking note of this.
I mean, you've got to think right now, anyways. Social media, within the last, I would say, less than a decade, has taken over. People love to watch fake-ass reality shows.
And that's what
They're bringing jerseys. They're bringing Jersey Shore back, for Christ's sake. Hey, people older than me. Like,
talk about it.
what are you even
Look at us.
doing? But they're bringing it back.
No,
you
but
know?
have
It's
we
crazy.
ever looked at it? The guy that Khabib, he says Habib, son,
I'm not 100% sure.
when he comes up on the video and puts his hand behind the dude's neck and suns him in front of fucking millions of viewers when that video was uploaded. We can't look at it like Conor was just a loyal homie. Here's a guy who just made $100 million and just had a kid and is out there when his homie gets sunned by Khabib.
Right.
He goes out there and he stands up for his homie. It's a hard thing to do when you got a fan, man. Because
Right.
you put a lot of things, you sacrifice a lot of things with him going and facing these 2 felony charges.
Right.
He puts himself in a position where we know that only real homies do that for each other. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Okay, I would like to talk with Conor McGregor. Technically, he still has 2 belts. Okay, I don't know if anybody read into that, but technically, he still does.
He does.
He hasn't given up those belts yet. All right. I think Conor McGregor is very passionate about what it is that he likes. He came from, like you said, from rags to riches story. I think it's fantastic. I love it. I love stories like that. I like Conor McGregor based on the fact that he's so passionate. I love the fact that he loves what he does, that he loves his fans. I saw a video of somebody had a life-size cardboard standee of him. He stopped literally to go over there and go introduce himself. Cool. I do think that where everything is going right now is basically a WWE scripted situation. Now, I don't know if everybody saw all the videos, but Conor McGregor did throw a guardrail, did throw a dolly, did throw a trash can, and that's something that you typically see in the WWE genre. So personally, I think it's fantastic that that hopefully they capitalize on this. I'm not 100% sure, but if they do, then good. If they want to be as successful as WWE is worldwide, or at least in the nation of the United States, they're completely successful. I do have a coworker that loves WWE, and him and I were actually talking about this yesterday. I don't know if I would actually give a shout out, so I'm just going to leave that alone for the moment.
For the end.
So, anyways, if this is legitimately a way for him coming back into the UFC, then fantastic. I would love to see him fight again. I think he's a great fighter. I thought he did a phenomenal job facing Floyd Mayweather. How many rounds did he go into?
10 rounds.
10 rounds, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it would be phenomenal to actually see him come back again. And unfortunately, he was put into a position in the boxing world where it's very rare for anybody to get paid that much from a UFC. Nobody's ever gone from UFC to professional boxing.
Right, which is
will.
Right,
exactly.
That was more money than he would make. What did they say? Like 5 fights?
Right.
So
More than
Five
that.
fights.
In
He
his
usually has
UFC
about
career.
five
his
mil a
career
fight.
history.
He got like almost 100.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, personally, I don't know whether or not we're going to top off on that and go from Brock Lesnar or...
What am I thinking with Bones Jones being in limbo?
Okay.
Ronda's WWE now.
Right.
Who knows what's going on with Conor?
Brock Lesnar.
What Brock Lesnar supposedly coming back.
Yeah, he is.
Where do they go as far as the UFC? Who is their star? What do they do? You know.
Well, with me personally, I think that right now, with all the hype with Conor McGregor, they're obviously going to focus on that. Hopefully, they do focus on that. But with Brock Lesnar coming back into the UFC, is he going to pass the drug test?
Right.
Is he going to end up passing finally, so that way he can end up performing again and actually have a fight?
Well, the thing about him is, it's not. Can he pass it? He gets in, he fights, and then after his fight,
Then.
I failed the drug test. He
Right.
failed the drug test. You know what I mean?
You talking about Brock?
Brock.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
really?
after the fact.
Yeah.
No, that's suspect.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing for me with a lot of these guys is the opportunities they continue to get because they don't have enough stars. You look. That's why I think McGregor's fine. I don't think anything. He might lose a little bit of money, but he made that money on the Mayweather fight, so he'll be good. But they don't have these stars. These guys. How many opportunities? I mean, again, Brock has failed every time he comes. He's failed the test.
Only reason why I bring that up.
How many times has Bones Jones, which is one of my favorite UFC fighters, how many second chances does he get?
Well, so far his tally's up to what? 5?
4.
4? You know, I mean, just let it keep running. If controversy sells, and you're still selling tickets either way, ride the lightning. You know.
But
You're
if
not
that's the
doing anything
case,
wrong.
then why even make any of that an issue? You know what I mean? So if you if you're going to sit there and say that you don't condone the actions of what these athletes are doing, right? Professional athletes.
Right.
But they're generating you money, and regardless of the quote unquote consequences that they're going to face, whether it's a year suspension, 6 months, you're going to let them back in, and it's all fine giving somebody the next opportunity to come back and do what they do. But if at what particular point, and that probably can go across any athletic board, regardless of the sport, when are you going to stop the bullshit as far as worrying about what they're putting in them to make them better athletes? I.e., if you were going to sit there and say that baseball players were juicing during that certain era and that the pitchers weren't, and that those were actually the true results of what they were doing, i.e., I don't play baseball. I can't just sit there and juice and go out there and crush baseballs and become a better baseball player. That still takes hand-eye coordination. That still takes a skill set to be prepared out there. To sit there, either ban it and then make it to where the point to where you get 1 to 2 chances and then that's it, and then you're done with my business. You will never come back to this. Even if I'm the pinnacle of what it is, you'll never come back. Learn your lesson.
Okay.
But what sells?
That's the point. Controversy and capitalism is always going to make the money here. And I'm not arguing that. But I mean, what is your hypocrisy going to take effect?
Catch up. Yeah.
Well, speaking of second chances, let's move on to a different sport. Let's talk about Manziel, RG3, Kaepernick.
I know Kaepernick. That's about it.
So it's funny. Really, we are segueing into that because we're talking about second chances, multiple opportunities. You look at, in particular, I'm looking at Manziel. RG3 was just signed with the Ravens Thursday, I think it was, and I don't have a problem with the RG3 thing being. The only issue I have is that I believe that Cap was a better quarterback than is a better quarterback than RG3. That's my only issue I had there is that they picked him over a Kaepernick. What irks me, and it's not Manziel's fault because he's come out in defense of saying that Kaepernick should be in the league as well, but that teams are really going out and checking this dude out and really talking about giving him another chance to be in the league over a Kaepernick. You have a quarterback that has proven his talent and his ability to lead a team to a Super Bowl. And Manziel, did they even win one game when he was with them?
Not even going to that. You've got somebody who has, the stature to go to that effect, and then he believes strongly about, he has a certain belief he believes strongly about whether or not you agree with it. He brought it into the NFL, whether or not it was a good idea. Obviously, that shows now. And you've got Manziel, who was terrible, was a terrible player, didn't necessarily get waxed because he was injury prone and got caught doing the wrong thing, selling jerseys on the side. Like, what are you doing?
But that's just a part of it. He had a domestic charge for beating up his girlfriend.
That's cool.
Is it?
I guess so. I guess so. You know what I mean?
I agree with you that it was cool for one reason. It wasn't on video.
I like how you said it.
See the difference?
I guess. You know what I mean? It's cool.
No, we keep it because I get what he's saying. He's not saying. He's being honest. No. He's not saying. He's being sarcastic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Right.
The thing is,
NFL sarcastic.
The thing is,
standards.
You look at
it, and it's okay. Hey, beat her up. I don't give a fuck.
So look at it.
But if you tell me that
what was the punishment for the Giants?
Not even that. Just look at it from a standpoint that's even further back than that.
Yeah.
You've got
Ray Rice.
Ray Rice.
Hold on.
You can go even further back than that. You've got Ray Rice. You've got Ray Lewis. You've got allegedly Ben Roethlisberger. There's all these things that have happened.
Marvin Harrison.
And money tucks, and that's it. It's okay. It's like if it's not caught on socially and glorified as well within the media from their standpoint, whether it's positive views or negative views based on what they're trying to tell you in any limelight, depending on how that business takes it, is how they take it.
I don't know anything about sports. I don't know who these players are besides Kaepernick. But when it comes to the individuals that you talked about, Roethlisberger, the individuals that ended up deciding to beat up a lady, an individual that is the opposite sex. Okay.
Well, let's make sure we stay. Roethlisberger was not charged with beating up a woman.
It was
So let's
alleged.
make sure we separate and
Alleged.
like
Fair enough.
put the charges where they belong.
So here's my point. Kaepernick decided to end up saying something that he believed in that had nothing to do with the opposite sex. Could have been technically, but the reality is that he did nothing wrong. He didn't beat up a lady. He didn't rape a lady. He didn't get in a fight that was recorded outside of
anyone.
anything. Right, exactly. Yeah. He ended up standing up for what it was that he believed in. But you get people like Michael Vick, Roethlisberger, that ended up doing something that was completely wrong in the public eye, but they still end up playing the game. Why? That makes no sense to me. Personally, this is my perspective. I think if you decide to beat up a lady or an individual or have any kind of conflict outside of the professionalism, you should not be played. You should not be playing. And Kaepernick is actually being destroyed in that aspect, regardless of whether or not he beat up a lady or not. He's standing up for what it was that he believes in. He didn't rape anybody. He didn't beat up any lady. But yet he's not allowed to play because of his belief.
Get accused of obstruction of justice in a murder case. He didn't get accused of shooting anyone. He wasn't caught on camera saying, "I'll beat all you niggas' ass." He was.
Thank you.
I'll say this though. What also is a downfall in his situation. Well, let me start with one point. When it comes to the actual point of him being in here, he should have the opportunity. Why? Because he is at least a top 40 to 50 quarterback, meaning that he's going to make a starting squad. Make a team and at least maybe have an opportunity at a starting position in some of these opportunities. The irony is that because he took on a social venue, and mind you, the NFL is probably the worst at handling these type of situations when it comes to political awareness in their sports. NBA is probably the most advanced. And that's also due to the dialogue that they have between the athletes, the league, and everything that goes forth.
Okay.
Now, to sit there and say that the NFL and the NBA are not good old boy networks is to be a lie.
Right.
It's just how they handle their business.
Yeah, because
for you as an owner to look at your players who generate you more money than you will ever count on a day in your life. You know what I mean? So Jerry Jones could be Jerry Jones all day, but he ain't Jerry Jones without Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, without Michael Irvin, without Dak Prescott, whoever it is right now. And for you to sit there and look that man in his face and to sit there and say that because I had a cousin who was shot in a similar situation to Trayvon Martin or to anybody else, and they could relate to that personally.
Right.
And now they're taking a stance upon that. And for you to look me in my face and say, I don't respect you as a man because you're my property, you're my business right now, and you're going to affect my business. There's an issue there. And there's certain undertones that the league has helped perpetuate that has caused and created this problem even worse.
And that goes to the hypocrisy bringing up Jerry Jones. For them to be against these players kneeling against social injustices, they're not hurting anyone, but for him to sign a Greg Hardy, who
another domestic situation.
Yeah, another domestic situation.
Zeke?
It's Zeke. And whether or not the Zeke one is kind of questionable, but let's see, it's still there. It's still out there. Patterns.
It's still discussed. I mean, it's still on the forefront.
It's out there. What did he pull the girl's boob out, or what did he do? He pulled her boob out on camera, or some shit like that. Some shit like that.
Picture
but these are his guys, so it kind of creates that guilty by association, or this is okay, but this you're justifying this action over another action. You know what I mean? Which, you're saying someone speaking out against a social injustice is worse than someone sexually accosting a woman, physically abusing a woman.
True.
And you're but you never hear the justification behind that. Jerry Jones, do you know the money? He literally sued the league last year to keep them from suspending Ezekiel Elliott. He went to those lengths to
Didn't care
keep
about
them.
everybody else, though.
Didn't care about anybody. But
cared about
if
the
you
money.
kneel on this, nobody's kneeling on this team, or you're cut.
I'm gonna bet your ass.
Yeah.
I also think that
Come
part-
on. Are you serious?
The
Are
other
you
part I
serious?
wanted to bring up was also the time difference. And what I'm saying in time difference is that in Muhammad Ali's era, he was given the choice. Go fight or stay home. He said, I'm not going over there and fighting your war. So now, it was a political choice. It affected him professionally because they stripped him of his titles. They basically banned him. They did everything they could to smear his name and his character in this stretch. Now, in that same moment, you can go look it up. There's pictures of it, and you'll sit there and see all the greats of that era, the Jim Browns and everybody with him in solidarity as brothers. And it had nothing to do with skin, but as brothers of professional athletes and knowing the struggle.
Right.
That they stood in solidarity with him. And those that took the knee with Kaepernick, especially from the gate, some of them are probably going to have to see what happens. Most of them didn't have to take the flak because Cap
He took
was
it
the
off.
picture.
But
Now I want to look at Reed
yep.
on his team, the
Yep.
first teammate and the first person to basically be tagged with them in this scenario.
Yep.
Because if he doesn't get picked up in this season,
You
for
know
which he's
it's
still
yes.
again a top
What's his first
20.
name again?
Eric
Eric
Reed.
Yeah.
So he's I think Eric Reed is he was already a starting corner.
No, started. He's starting safety.
Safety, I take that back.
Strong
Starting
safety.
safety. So you're telling me he was a starting safety. So that means that he has a chance at 31 other spots, right? And now all of a sudden he's without a job. Now,
And it's not because of his skill level. I don't care
it's
what
not
anyone
because
says.
of
It's not
skill
because of his
level. And
talent.
for the people that argue that Cap's skill level, because I keep hearing that weak argument come from either those in the industry. If you're in the industry, put your name on it.
Yeah.
Put your name on it. You have nothing to hide.
Right.
I know better. I'm a professional at grading athletes. That's why
Yeah.
they
They don't know. It's been
That's
proven.
why
It's been
Brian
proven.
Leafs and
Thank you. I was
Jamarcus
just about to say
Russells make the
same thing, yes.
league and get washed out. This happens all the time. You don't know. This is
That's why Johnny
Right.
Manziel is not in the league right now because you guys know so much.
right. And honestly, that kid, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve an opportunity, but I do not see his talent being greater than Kaepernick's. Or at least not giving Kaepernick the chance to sit there and prove me right or wrong, however I feel. If I don't agree with Cap and I want to sit there and prove that Cap isn't worth it, then put your name on it. What do you have to lose?
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to lose anything. And at this point, all the other arguments, he's not going to stand or take. Stand. He's already said he's not taking a knee no
And he
more.
already said that. He already said that before the beginning of the
He already
and
said
you-
that he was going to generate a good portion of his revenue
Yeah.
towards the cause of which he believes in. But mind you, Johnny said he'll play for free.
Cut. I'm sending y'all a bill for my Hennessy.
No, but let's talk about the similarities of Johnny Manziel and Kaepernick.
What's some of that?
Okay,
There are no similarities. There are no similarities. Kaepernick.
Their mobility.
Johnny
Their
Manziel-
mobility is it.
Johnny Manziel was a personal problem. He drank too much alcohol. He had a problem.
Affluent.
off the field. Here we got Colin Kaepernick with a political problem that can cause so much distraction, so much is that too loud?
No.
So much distraction, and just so much problems in the NFL where they'll have to take this to entertain Kaepernick to come in to start for an NFL football team, having him to be the face of your franchise, going out there and speaking on his political views, which can cause a stir in the NFL fans, in the NFL players, in the NFL owners. It's so much easier to bring Johnny Manziel back from an alcoholic problem who came back, who had a great combine, than to have a talented quarterback such as Colin Kaepernick, who has a resume of going to the Super Bowl and being so close to winning. But no one wants to sign him because his message is true, his message is powerful, his message can move a nation. Nobody wants that in the NFL.
No.
Because that hurts the money. It hurts the money-making machine that the NFL is. Somebody chime in.
Okay, I'm gonna chime in. Can I please chime in?
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, I know nothing about sports, okay? When it comes to the political agenda that NFL, WWE, NBA, MLB, whatever, UFC, doesn't really matter to me, okay? But the one thing I will say is that if it doesn't generate profit, they're going to disregard you. I think it's unfortunate. Regardless of your talent, regardless of what you do, regardless of whether or not your first year you ended up getting the team to the Super Bowl, I think it's unfair that in society nowadays that more people focus on what's right for the nation instead of what's right for the individual. Now, obviously, Kaepernick or any individual that decided to take a knee was based on what they believed and how they looked at the country in itself. It was their personal belief. It was their personal, how they felt and what it was that they believed on a daily basis, what they saw was wrong with the country. And I don't care who it is in any industry, any business industry. I think it's important that any individual sit there and actually voice their opinion on how they feel about anything. That's my personal perspective. I work in an industry where there's sports involved, and if any of my customers were to ask me, I probably wouldn't tell them because I know it's going to affect their sales. And I think that's unfair. I think that's not right. But capitalism and making the money in the right aspect, unfortunately, rules the industry. So when you see so many people, regardless of whether or not Kaepernick decided that it was about police brutality and not anybody in the military, nobody in the military was affected by this, as far as I'm concerned. He made that a point. And there was an individual, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he decided to actually speak with Kaepernick about the situation because he is a military veteran.
Navy SEAL. I forgot his name as well, but yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, exactly. He decided to actually speak with Kaepernick about the issue. So if an individual that is a Navy SEAL or in the military decides that, hey, look, what you're doing is right, all I ask is that you do this. Why can't society itself just get their sticks out of their ass and realize that it's not about the nation, it's not about a military, it's not about our president, it's about one person's individual ideal
I gotta
about
disagree
police
with
brutality.
you. I gotta disagree with you on it is about the nation. It is about a cancer that is within the nation that has not been addressed. Wednesday, I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday, marked the 50th year since Martin Luther King was assassinated.
That's right.
Let's do the math. What is the median age of most of these NFL owners?
They're older age, I know that.
They're 70 plus.
Yeah, so they were young men during that era.
They were young men. They were a part of this. This is we're talking about a cultural change in their world, because when they came up, women were supposed to stay home, cook, and raise the kid.
Fair enough.
Black people were niggers.
Stay in your lane.
And it was segregation. I mean, segregation was still prevalent at these times.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So for a lot of these people, we are changing. You got to think this is ingrained. They were young men at this time, so this is a natural way of life. Niggers, and let's just put the harsh word out there. I'm the asshole.
I hate it.
That shit bothers
It bothers me, but here's the thing. Let's not walk away. Let's not tiptoe around it. That's how they see us. Niggers should know their place. And your place is not to be speaking on social issues. And what they say multiple times everywhere, the voice you hear is shut up and play. You're here to entertain me. You don't have a voice.
True.
And that is still how they are viewed, which is why a Jerry Jones, what's the owner of the Texans, Bob, whatever the fuck his name is, when he says that the inmates, you can't let the inmates run the asylum or the prison or whatever it is.
It doesn't matter because I think he's gone.
Well, yeah, hopefully he is gone. But all these guys, that is why they make these comments. The Chiefs owner, and here's the funny thing, he said it. If you kneel, you're not on my team anymore.
Right.
Look at Marcus Peters.
Right. I'll say this in two parts. NFL could have fixed this and should have never even had this become an issue had they not signed that contract with the military off top. Had you kept it like when I was growing up and you never seen any of that and it wasn't made part of your regular NFL Sunday experience, that was not a part of that.
Are you talking about the national anthem?
Yes, that's what set the
correct.
the format
correct.
to be played out there the way it was,
That is
because
correct.
it's put in front of the cameras.
Correct.
that's the main part. It's like, how are you going to sit there and cry foul when you went in on the pitch in the first place?
Money.
Right, they took the money,
For sure.
and then the government had to pay the money back, and then we wanted to.
Who's the DB from Philly? For Philly, Jennings? What's his name?
Is it Malcolm Jenkins?
Malcolm Jenkins was the chairman of the board that was talking to the NFL about this social injustice cause with Colin Kaepernick, which crazy that they didn't make Colin Kaepernick a part of one of the first talks, major negotiations between the NFL players and the NFL. But in the end, what these guys came up with is ideas to support all these black communities, giving them money, which is okay. We're gonna go out there and give money to the black community to give them opportunities in the future for college and all of that. But they just went away from what Colin Kaepernick's message was supposed to be about, and he wasn't even a part of this meeting.
Well, that goes back to Reed's thing. Reed wanted Cap to be a part of that. And that's why he dropped out of those meetings.
Exactly.
Because he said that Jenkins, what they went behind the back, that was not what they agreed on, is the first thing. But then the other part of that is how disingenuous, if I was Kaepernick, with this
sold
color,
out.
well, not just Jenkins, the whole thing,
The whole
because
platform.
how disingenuous it is for the league to come out. Oh, now we'll go ahead and we'll put money into your cause if you'll stop kneeling. If you stop kneeling, then we'll put money behind your cause and we'll support it. But
at first,
it wasn't at first.
It was already money they already had allocated
Right.
for other stuff. It wasn't like they came up with new
So
money.
is that a victory?
But my other part that also goes back to Reed being blacklisted right now too, as well. For me, it doesn't feel like the NFL did that because they cared about the social injustices and they wanted to better the communities. It was to get these guys to please shut the fuck up and stop kneeling.
Bleeding. They were trying to stop
That's what it was
bleeding.
about.
But I will say also that even though that the person I'm going to bring up has nothing to do per se with this subject, it's what I call the Michael Jordan effect. I already kind of talked with you about this before. Is that before Michael Jordan, hear me out.
Yeah.
Before Michael Jordan, marketing was a piece of what happened in there. It wasn't what happens in there. Now think about it. Before Michael Jordan, nobody was really branding. You can get marketing deals because your brand, I mean, all of them did.
Right, yeah.
But Jordan took that branding element to such a level of money and magnitude for everybody, not just the athlete, not just Michael Jordan, but the companies benefited from this face.
Right.
As Michael doing that, Michael also willingly gave up his personal perspective on things. He became so vanilla.
He
That
gave
he
up
had
being a
no
voice.
backbone and no voice on anything that was socially structured in society.
Yeah.
So now it's created an environment to where do you go with that? There's only one athlete I've seen right now perpetually putting himself out there and he's still making his money, and that's LeBron. Like him or hate him, he's the only one that on the level to where he's generating money for himself by his shoes
And he's
brand.
still,
And yet he still talks about things that can affect his son, the next generation, the next person, and by whatever means.
Yeah.
And the social things that are going on. Jordan wouldn't touch that
No,
with
he
a
didn't.
500-foot pole
Yeah.
on a bet to double down his money because he would never mess with his money. Also, the social media. There was no social media in the Jordan era. There was no
there
social
wasn't.
media in the Babe Ruth era. So the things that people do today is no different than any other era. It's the fact that now that we have phones right here that can capture anything at the drop of a dime, like Mcgregor,
True.
like whatever. There's so many cameras. There's the TMZs, all these networks that try to capitalize
World star.
on
So
just
stupid.
an instant opportunity
Stupid.
to generate something. All I got to do is tack up a little crazy line.
Catch me
So gets
outside.
knocked out. Right.
Right.
You just throw something out there real quick. So what I'm saying, so with Michael Jordan, he put out, and I'm not going to fault him for one level because he generated an opportunity for young minorities to generate money outside of just their sport, that they realize that these guys can be marketed
Right.
for other things, and it works.
And that's the fear.
But
That's why these
unfortunately-
guys don't speak up because of the
And
marketing.
now they don't
knowledge.
want to play with their money, and I
Right.
think that that's been a downfall
Yes.
as part of that concept.
Yeah, you want to get paid first.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you look at the transition from college into professional, any sport. College, you show out. as soon as you get a paycheck, even if it's not a franchise tag or whatever, as soon as you get some sort of money, irregardless of whether you're smart or not, you lighten up a little bit. You feel a little bit more achieved, so you kind of casually, you kind of casually, get out of that role of I need to show out because you essentially you already got paid.
Oh yeah, they eat.
But can we say that LeBron maybe doesn't have the post up move finesse as Jordan had, or he doesn't have as many rings as Jordan has, but he is more independent in his brand. It's not being stuck to Nike, the big brand that controls Jordan. Can we say that he's greater in this point, being that he's able to go out in the public and speak on social injustice and all of these other stuff that Jordan would never touch up? Can we say that LeBron is a greater person?
Well, let me throw this. Can I throw this out to you? And I know, Dave, you've been waiting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have been waiting.
I will give it to you. One second. I just want to lose this. You said that LeBron is greater than Jordan in that. Imagine. I think, and LeBron is how he's attacking these social issues. Yes, but do I think if Jordan, imagine where Jordan is right now, if he was to step out and say, "Hey, this shit is wrong." Imagine the impact and the weight his voice would carry. Do you really think Nike would shut him down if he came out and said that? When's the last time Jordan has played an NBA game? And motherfuckers will still shell out a couple $100 for a pair of Jordans as soon as they drop. They are not going to shut him down.
But he's had so many years with the strength that this guy has, not just nationally.
Well, I'm not saying he would. Right.
Internationally.
I'm not saying that he would. I'm just saying, imagine if he did. The idea of, imagine if Jordan was to take his platform that he has now and stand up for social injustices. Do you really think Nike would shut him down? I think Nike would have more to lose from trying to shut down the Jordan brand than he would have. Jordan can move.
He's all not quite.
Anybody want to jump into this?
He would.
Anybody want to jump in?
Personally, okay, so my question is this. About a month ago, LeBron decided to jump in and say something publicly, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. What was that he said?
Is that with the KD one?
Yeah. When he was talking about the president?
Right. No, yeah. And Laura Ingham said he should
shut up.
Right, exactly. Okay, so my point is this. I actually had a conversation with a customer of mine. I'm not going to say your name. But anyways, the point is that just because you play a sport does not make you an individual that has to do what it is that we say. Right. He's also civilian. He's an American. Mm-hmm. He has the right to voice his opinion and say what it is that he wants to say. Just because he plays sports and he gets paid X amount of money doesn't give anybody the right to say, hey, look, you need to actually play ball and not give me your opinion. Bullshit.
But that's the society we live in now.
Exactly.
That is the society that we live in now, to where they will not allow, they don't see, and we're all wrong for this. We take these athletes and we put them on a pedestal. Mm-hmm.
Right, of course.
We make them.
You're right.
We idolize them, which is crazy because all these religious zealots that say you should not have false idols. That is exactly what they're doing with these athletes.
Unfortunately, that's the way that society is. I see so many people post about their team, about what's going on with MLB right now because it's open season. I think it's fantastic. I think that sports are great. It's great for entertainment. It's great for profit for the country. But the reality is,
it's a great release from reality.
Exactly. Completely. But when a person like LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick, and anybody, any individual that decided to kneel down with him should not be shunned or blackballed or whatever you want to call
ostracized.
it. Mm-hmm. Right, ostracized because of the fact that you decide to stand what you stand for. Now, there's so many people that I know that say, oh, we got this amendment, we got the Second Amendment, we got the First Amendment, we got the Third Amendment. Okay, well, if that's the case, then why the hell don't you give an individual that is in a sport the same right?
Because you have all these rights until your rights offend someone else's sensibilities.
No.
And as soon as you offend someone else's sensibilities, we need to shut them up. They shouldn't be doing this. And that's what's happening.
For progressive owners, And sounds weird, but bless the dead, if Al Davis had been there, he probably would have been the one that probably would have had that kid's back. He's the one person that ever stood up against the NFL for whatever reason. Even if he was wrong, he would stand up against them. So the point is that this kid got put out on the island. And I say kid in the sense that he's younger than me. So there's just more in that aspect. I'm not saying he's a young man.
Yeah.
And young men, especially under the age of 30, you're still growing. There's still a lot of life for you to learn and pick up on. Now, all of us sitting at this table did not go from being 18, eating top ramen, to all of a sudden signing an endorsement deal to where my mama's got a house so damn big she can't even find her own bathroom.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are the opportunities you want to give your family, true. But I mean, these are the tightropes that everybody walks. I mean,
something you said there, and I thought about it, the Al Davis thing, and it takes me back to Jerry Jones and the idea that, again, he would fight for someone that has domestic issues behind him, but he doesn't have a backup behind Dak Prescott. And you think, what was the lineman he had? Larry Brown? Not Larry Brown. He had a lineman that got caught with all the drugs, all the coke in his car. Newton. What was that?
Back in the day. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, back
But
then.
to think that these type of things were okay, and again, he sued the NFL. And the Al Davis comment you made when Al Davis sued the NFL, but that Jerry Jones literally sued the NFL to keep one of his top players, because he knew that was the player that was going to take him to the playoffs, to keep him in the league, even though there was a cloud around him that he may have been involved in a domestic situation with a woman. And yet, not one of these owners stood up and said, you know, hey, my player, fucking the Ravens, until that video came out, had signed fucking Ray Rice. The Giants had given Josh Brown a contract extension. Fucking the Cowboys had picked up Greg Hardy. The list goes on and on. The Niners, even now, with Reuben Foster.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Right. The list goes on, and yet not one of these owners had the balls to say what we're doing to this young man is wrong.
Well, they never will, because it's a united front right there. Like, for being a nonprofit, they make a lot of money because they are a nonprofit organization by definition. These guys, Jerry Jones didn't buy the Cowboys to be nonprofit. That's why that AT&T stadium that he has generates money for Jerry. Jerry World. You can call him, yeah, but Jerry helped co-sign for all that. But now he got the setup for the WrestleManias and everything out of the one building that he only uses.
Taxpayers pay for it. Taxpayers are paying for that shit.
He only uses 4 months out the year. By definition, my team only uses this place for about 4 months out the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And generate the money.
But we got to look at Jerry, that a lot of teams, whether you're coming out of the draft or coming out of the free agent pool as a top free agent, a lot of teams always look for something other than talent, which is character. And the Dallas Cowboys over the years have always overlooked that character, being the team that is known for giving these players with questionable character second chances to see if they can come in. I think one of the worst ones was Pac-Man Jones, if you guys remember Pac-Man Jones, where they had to send personal Cowboy security guards out with him to watch him like a babysitter, because this guy was just so much trouble, and they were willing to go through all the lengths to do that because he was a talented DB.
Yep.
And he was a great kick returner. And Jerry Jones has always been the one owner who's been able to look past characters for talent.
Yep.
So we gotta, but let's just double back to. I wanted to get it answered from all of us individually, that between LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
I like this. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes left.
Who is the greatest person of all time in the NBA? I'm not saying the greatest player, because that would be ultimately Michael Jordan, in my opinion. But I'm saying the greatest player who's able to put his brand on the line,
Okay.
put profits on the line, on a message that's so strong in the nation at this point, and in days before today.
Okay. Well, you started off. Who's yours?
And I'm going with LeBron.
Okay.
And I think this guy, he's got into situations where he's known not to have balls and take the last shot. He's known to not have the character to shake hands of teams that whip his ass on the playoffs, just like the bad boys of Detroit back in the day when they beat Jordan or when they got beaten by Jordan in the playoffs. But though we can question LeBron's character, and I can say his character is not as good as Jordan, I would choose LeBron over Michael Jordan in the person who stands up for all the things that's right and puts his brand at risk, and who is more independent with his brand. I think he's more independent with his brand than Jordan, and I'm gonna throw that over to Mono to see to continue this.
Well, disclaimer real quick, Bill Russell's the greatest champion of all time. This is coming from a Lakers fan for life. I'm just being But if we're going to talk about championship, nobody has more rings in any sport than this man right here. But if I had to pick between the two, as far as the greater aspect and effect upon the social, economical forefront that society runs on, and being somebody for social justice, then obviously I'd have to pick LeBron for the reason that, one, he does stand up on those principles and he puts his name on it. And on top of that, again, I'm going back to where we're at society-wise, and the fact that he has the newer generation and the social media networking that Jordan never had.
Yeah,
I mean, to be able to connect with your fan base in a way that you can nowadays through Snapchat, Twitter, Twitch, whatever handle you want to use, he can tap into these environments through himself or his handlers, his team, and he knows how to market that. You know, with him being with Sprite and working all these deals out, and he's sometimes overly calculated when it comes to his business moves.
Yeah.
I think he protects his brand a little bit more than you might want to give him credit for. He does try
Got a great team.
I think sometimes he protects his brand to a fault. But for him to sit there and put his name and his money where his mouth is, as far as speaking out against the things that happen against those who he grew up around. Like, this is the kid that grew up with nothing in Akron, Ohio. This is the same person whose mama got investigated when he was a senior because mama all of a sudden got an H2. Where the money came from, ain't none of our business.
Blue
I don't
chips.
care if I was the bank, I'd have gave you to you on GP. What, you LeBron's mama? Man, go to take that car. I know y'all good. Like, I'm not worried about it. We good. I'm gonna pass this on, let him go.
All right, so for me, I don't watch sports. All right, I don't watch basketball. All right, so when it comes to a political standpoint, I do know that LeBron James did say something. But as far as whether or not it was right or wrong, I don't know. I just know that it's right for an individual to stand up what they believe in. So, in aspect, I would say LeBron's did a great thing by standing up for what he believed in. When it comes to the greatest player, of course, I'm going to end up saying Michael Jordan. But I'm going to support my family, my Lakers fans, and say Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Oh,
For shame. For all the shame.
So since I wear my colors on my sleeve,
Spurs.
I'm gonna take y'all exactly. Greg Popovich.
There you go.
Yeah.
What?
Not an athlete though.
No, we didn't say athlete.
No,
He did not say athlete.
Okay, all right.
He did not say
Talking
athlete.
about NBA.
He said NBA. So and Pop played.
Okay.
By the way, just, all right.
Pop was very vocal, but back.
That's how good he was.
But straight
Back you go.
up. Pop uses his platform and will regularly speak out. And just 3 weeks ago, he called this country a racist country.
Yes, he did.
Pop will say that regularly. He will attack the president. He will he wears his opinions on his sleeve, and he is not afraid to voice his opinion. A. B. On top of that, the whole wrestling athletes thing that LeBron complains about not getting enough of, Pop started that. Pop also, his military background is impeccable. You can't come at him. He served his country. Okay? And then the flip side of it, name another coach that's more open with his players and will treat his star player the same way he treats his bench player. You're not going to find another coach. The only one that's coming close right now is Steve Kerr. Guess what? Steve Kerr played for Greg Popovich. So, if you ask me, if we got to go best NBA players, please don't do this to me. We'll be going all night. We'll be going all night.
Jordan, no. I thought it was between these two.
No, he never said that. 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 He said person. If we were to go between LeBron and Jordan, I would pick Jordan only because of the rings at this point in LeBron's career. LeBron would need to win a few more championships to be on Jordan's level. And that's the only thing that's separating the two. That's the only thing.
Okay, Bobby?
I would say, in a social standpoint, it would be LeBron because, as we discussed, he's the only one that's been provided that sort of a social media platform. I mean, all that Jordan did was show his shoes off on a commercial. You know, I mean,
He bought the hot dogs.
He bought hot dogs, exactly. I mean, I buy hot dogs. You know, whatever. It's relatable at best, but I mean.
Footlong.
Space Jam.
Don't forget about Space Jam. I'm going to say that. You beat me.
Jordan was on more of a candidate for me as far as you've got 6 rings, you had 3, went out, left for a year, came back, hit 3, one of them under mono, which LeBron's never going to do. Sorry, I don't care who you are. But as far as the social standpoint, right, exactly. That dude couldn't play through cramps because he didn't drink enough water, you know. But as far as opportunity, the opportunities there are a lot more for LeBron because he has that social media platform that Jordan obviously did not have. So it's kind of where I'm on that.
Okay, so that's it for Are You Fucking Kidding Me? I hope you enjoyed tonight's discussion and don't forget to subscribe.